Okay, so let's get Node.js installed on our Linux machines here. It's a little more complicated on Linux because there are a lot of different platforms and distributions and variety of Linux, but hopefully they're all similar enough that you'll be able to figure out the exact instructions or exact sequences of commands necessary to get it installed on your machine. So the first thing we are going to want to do is visit the nodejs.org download page, and there actually are binaries available for various Linux machines. So if you want, you can just go ahead, download those, untar them to a directory, and start working directly with those. And that will save you a lot of trouble and a lot of time and everything like that. So definitely that's an option if you know you're running a 32 or 64-bit Linux. Just go ahead, download those, extract those, and start working with them. If you want to build from source, what you can do is copy the link to the source code. And then we're going to go back to our terminal window here. And I'm logged in as a root here on my Linux machine. And I've created a little folder called Scratch. And I'm going to say curl-o like that. And then that's the link to the node I'm going to download. That's going to quickly download that. I'm going to extract that tarball like this. This should take a few seconds, and then I'm going to go into the new node folder, and you'll see there's a bunch of stuff there. Now, I'm sure you've built a lot of source code stuff from source before if you're running on Linux, and you'll be familiar with running configure. The trick to Node 0.10 is that it requires Python 2.7. So double check your Python and make sure you're running 2.7. On my Ubuntu machine here, the default version of Python is actually 2.5. So I actually had to download, compile, and install Python. And now, when I say which Python am I going to run, it's going to be the 2.7 in user local bin. So you do need to make sure you have Python 2.7. If you have 2.5, the configure command is going to fail. One other thing I wanted to talk about is by the time you view this live lesson and are installing Node, version 0.10.3 is almost certainly no longer going to be the current version. And in fact, it might even be on 0.12, 0.14, or even version 1 point something. Don't worry about this too much. The Node.js team tends to run on pretty short development cycles and push out new releases quite often. You should, as you're sort of releasing and shipping code with Node, develop a strategy for sort of keeping up with those. You probably don't want to just sort of, unless there's a bug fix you really need or a security patch you really need, you probably don't want to just download and immediately start working with the latest one because there might be breaking changes. So definitely sort of develop a plan to sort of migrate and upgrade your code to new major versions as they come along. Even numbered versions here like 0.8, 0.10, 0.12 are going to be the stable releases. Odd number ones like 0.9, 0.11, 0.13 are going to be the development branches and everything. So definitely stick with a stable branch. Throughout these live lessons, we're going to show you how you can identify what areas of Node are more stable than others, and then give you some strategies to help you mitigate these sort of changes and sort of reduce the impact of parts of the code that are more likely to be changing than others. Now, the other thing we need to make sure before we start building on our Linux machine is that I actually have the C++ compiler installed. You want to type G++ and make sure it's actually there. If you see G++ command not found, it means you're probably running a version of Linux that doesn't have the build tools installed by Scratch. If you're running Ubuntu 0.8, you'll want to run apt-get install build essentials. I think I'm running on 0.10 here or something like that. So on that, I had to run apt-get install. I had to run Pentium Builder, and then I also had to add G++ libxml2 dev, libssl dev, and autoconf 2.13. you'll need to figure out exactly what you need to run on your version of Linux to get the appropriate build tools and everything like that. Once you've figured that, a lot of them actually, if you're running sort of one with a GUI or a user interface and stuff, they'll frequently have like even a program you can just run and click on some checkboxes to get the compiler installed. But yeah, you'll definitely need to make sure that you can run G++ before you start compiling and building anything. And again, we definitely need the Python 2.7 to be the first one in our path. So once I've got those two things done, I can run configure. And it's gonna, all the defaults are great, are exactly what we want. And then when we're done with that, we just type make and we go get a cup of coffee because my Linux server is really slow. So I'm gonna fire that off and I'll see you guys back in a couple of minutes. And after a very big and slow cup of coffee, we're back. My Linux machine is really slow at compiling stuff. But it's done now, and to get it installed, I'm going to run make install, assuming I'm root. If I'm not root, though, I need to do the sudo make install, like that, and then it'll ask me for my password, and then it'll complete the install. I'm not actually going to have it do it right now because this machine is too slow and I want to just get going with everything. So I've already got it ready to go, and you can test it out by typing node-version. And I would also like you to test npm-version, which is the Node package manager, which we are going to start using later in these live lessons, and they're a very critical part of the way we write our Node programs. If, let's kind of choose a bad name here and stuff. If I run node and I actually get this command not found for actually node, not nade, that probably means there's something wrong with your path. So you'll want to echo the path variable, and you'll want to make sure that user local bin is indeed in your path. If it's not, then you'll want to edit your bash profile or your .profile file in your home directory and make sure that user local bin is has indeed been correctly added to your path. But once you've got node and npm up and running like that, you're ready to go and can start writing Node programs no problem. There is one other option available to us for installing things, and that is to use the package management system of our operating system. On Ubuntu, that's apt-get, and you can actually just say apt-get install node. I typically don't use this because I don't know exactly what version of Node they're giving me, and I like to have full control over that. And I like to build things myself and just make sure they're kind of put in user local bin. So you're welcome to use that if you like. I probably won't throughout these live lessons and everything, but it is definitely an option available to you. Honestly, I think if you're going to use the binary version of it, just go to the nodejs.org website and download the binary versions from there and sort of unpackage those manually and work with those instead. To me, it's a far safer bet, and you're definitely going to have exactly the version of Node that you think you have. So that's what we need to get going on Linux, and we're ready to go.